want to check us out on all of our social media platforms, on Twitter at tinfoilhatcast, reddit.com/r/tinfoilhatshow,
on Instagram at tinfoilhatpod,
or allcomedyt-shirts.com.
Email us at tinfoilhatpod@gmail.com.
What's up, good looking? Yeah, man, that's what I am.
Welcome back to another episode of Tinfoil Hat.
Oh, well, I'm moving on.
Tinfoil Hat.
Come with me into the waters of conspiracy with Sam Tripoli.
Sam Tripoli.
Sam
Tripoli.
Sam Tripoli.
Mr. Sam Tripoli.
With my friend Ryan Davis.
Hi, Ryan.
We're the first gay couple of conspiracy theories.
I think it's beautiful, man.
Up there, partner. Say that again. It's some mystical, deep, dark realm, crazy shit.
Wake up, Aaron. There's reptile people everywhere.
Hey man, we're spitting truth there, dog.
Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Revolution will be podcasted.
Yes, here we are again. Welcome to another festive episode of Tinfoil Hat. I hope you Americans out there had a great Labor Day weekend. To the rest of the world, hope you had a great Monday. We're back in the studio after a very successful Tinfoil Hat comedy night. We were the only show to sell out in the Comedy Store last night. The rest of it was it was kind of weird how slow it was there last night. So we thank everybody who came out and rocked. What a wonderful night of comedy. We want to thank Eddie Bravo, Theo Vaughn, and Aaron for coming up and busting his almost dying on stage trying to do a prop comedy. So thank you, Aaron, for coming and basically saying the only thing you believed in is that Theo Vaughn's grandpa went blackface to get work as a slave. That was a fun moment in comedy last night. So thank you all very much. And that means on to the next one, Niagara Falls. That's right, Niagara Falls, 14th and 15th. Or is it 15th and 16th? What is it, 14th or 15th? I think it's 14th or 15th. Just go buy tickets. Go to thecornercomedy.com. Go grab your tickets now. I promise you, this will sell out. It will be packed, and it's going to be great. We're going to keep our streak of fucking rocking out and everywhere we go. So grab them. I'm very excited about going to Canada. I haven't been there in a while, so we're excited about being back. Next Tuesday, though, is September 11th. It is Comedy Chaos. Those tickets are selling. Russell Peters, Joe Rogan, Kyle Kinane, Brandon Schaub just got added, Sarah Tiana. The list goes on and on. Come out. Those tickets are only $20. And then the other show I want to push is October 3rd. I'm at the Brea Improv with my good friends, the Smash Brothers, Corey and Chad, George Perez, Mike Catherwood, and Mike Tully. So grab those tickets now. Should be an amazing time. The Patreon is a rocking. That episode will be out today. We have Megan Holiday from K-Rock on the show. That's going to be a good one. And once again, our t-shirt guy has bolted on us. So we have to find a new t-shirt guy. That shall be fun. But get on the Patreon. Rock it out. Joining us, we're very excited to have her on. She's from the immensely popular... she's the second part of one of the biggest podcasts out there, Tigerbelly. Please welcome Khalyla, everybody.
Thanks, you guys.
We're super excited to have you on. Can we actually show her? There we go. Boom. Dude, that stuffed crust pizza is really hitting him now. He's slowed down a lot. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks
we really
for having
appreciate
me.
it. How's the show going?
It's going well. You know, we don't leave home. We walk over to the second bedroom, and that's where we record.
That's great.
So when I do other people's podcasts, believe it or not, I get a little hitch in my breath.
A
I'm
little
nervous.
anxiety.
Yeah, like I have to carry a little paper towel to like wipe my hands.
Really? Because you get sweaty.
Yeah, but it's because I'm not home.
Right.
Because I'm a fucking hermit otherwise.
Do you have social anxiety?
Really bad social
Me too.
anxiety.
I have incredibly bad social anxiety.
And it's so weird for people to not believe that people with social anxiety can actually perform.
Yeah.
Or, you know, appear normal.
You're right.
But it's because we've actually trained ourselves over the years to be really good at pretending to be adjusted.
We have places that we are comfortable with. Like I can go to the Comedy Store. My girlfriend's like, Why are you going to the Comedy Store tonight? You're not performing there. Well, it's like the one place that I'm comfortable with sitting at where I don't feel like this. Like, I always feel this immense pressure to have to entertain people, remember everybody's names, do all this. I just feel like this like kind of scope is on me all the time. And when it's not, but that's how I feel. I feel like I'm the center of attention, even though I know I'm not. But I feel that, and it gets immense pressure to have to entertain everybody, shake hands, kiss babies, and all that weirdness that just comes with it. So, I mean, I've gone to birthday parties where I just walk in, shake the person's hands, happy birthday, and just walk right out and go home. So I showed up, and so it's really bad. It's why my career comedically isn't as great as it could be, because I'm not really good at socializing, networking. I can't kiss ass, and I can't really talk to anybody I don't feel comfortable with.
Does this sound like anyone you know at all?
Smiling and dialing is not my thing. Hitting up agents to represent me,
Right.
not my thing. I'm just really not into any of that. So, yeah, I understand where it's at, where you're coming from that.
Yeah, Bobby's exactly the same way. Exactly, to a T. I almost feel like he thrives in chaos and with around extreme personalities. And once you throw him back into the masses or the regular, sane, normal people, he freaks out. It's almost like he short circuits because he doesn't know how to express himself in a way that's more muted down or a little bit,
Yeah.
But he feels normal around other crazy comedians.
Right. Yeah. And he's also been at the Comedy Store for about 23 years, so it's like his house.
Yeah.
He's there a lot, and he's loved there, and where he goes there, everybody, Bobby! I
do that. I called him Bob yesterday, and I immediately regretted it. I was like, I don't know him well enough to call him Bob. That's a Steve thing right there.
Right.
But I was lucky that he did slap me on my ass. So Bob's still doing the Me Too movement.
Right.
He's keeping it strong, so
Yeah.
respect. I love it.
So you guys are a Tinder hookup?
We are. But this is when Tinder was still okay.
We were Grindr.
Yeah. I'll take it. Why not? What was that like? Now, did you know who Bobby was before that?
Mm-hmm.
You knew him from his Mad TV days?
I had gone to the Comedy Store once before, but I had seen him. I'm a comedy fan, so I knew who he was. So I knew the types of game he was probably going to attempt to play. So I didn't fall into that. Like the first thing he says, like, meet me at the Comedy Store. Nope, drive your ass to Long Beach.
Yeah,
An hour and a half away. In fact, I didn't go to the Comedy Store. I didn't go to his side of town for months.
Really?
Yeah, I just knew that that's what he was going to do.
So women have to do that. Like, you have to play this game where you can't just give it up really quick.
Shadow play.
Well, yeah, it's shadow play.
What is shadow
because
play?
It's Bobby coined this term. Anytime you have to strategize, it's shadow play, basically. But it's his place of power. If I walk into the Comedy Store, I would have just been the umpteenth girl he would have had around his arm that year.
Yeah.
And I know that somebody with status, somebody who feels that on a daily basis, needs to put in the work to feel like he's earned something.
Yeah.
It's shadow play on my part.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta shadow play him back.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobby Lee's an enigma, and I love it.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful
You guys
person.
are really similar.
Yeah.
You had no idea. Me and George, we had a meeting last week, and we just like had a heart-to-heart where I was like, because we're basically wards. We're like Robins, and we both have lunatic Batmans. Like, if you didn't tell Batman to do something, he wouldn't put on his cape. He won't get into the Batmobile. But once he does, he performs, So.
Yeah. So listen, are you excited about Crazy Rich Asians? As a Filipino, does that resonate with you?
It resonates in a. Okay, in the Philippines, there's a tier. We don't have a middle class. It's either you're very rich or you're dirt poor. It's
And
a third
that
world
has to do
country.
with where you're born.
Yeah.
Is it easy to move up as from the poor to the super
no way.
rich?
The rich just keep getting richer there. It's just a very like I said, there's no middle class there. So when I watch a movie like that, it reflects, even though I'm happy that it's a full Asian cast, it reflects something that I know to be.
Oh, that's an interesting take on that.
It's a rich kid thing.
It's a what's it called? They have class systems. It's a class system almost, like within, I'm sure even China, where even though the standard of living is much higher, right? Mm-hmm. There is like the super rich, and then there's the super poor. I mean, in particular, like, India and Indians, they're considered Asians, which always crack me up. But, like they're considered Asians, and that's a real caste system, like super rich and super
Untouchables.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the islands, it's 2,000 islands.
7,000.
7,000 islands.
7,107. Depends on high tide, low tide, but.
Oh, so some of the islands disappear in the high tide?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay, so
and
maybe
what do the people do that live on that?
They don't live on the ones that get submerged in the high tide.
Yeah, you're like
8 dialects, or is it more?
Way more.
Okay.
Tagalog is the main language, the national language, but I don't speak Tagalog. I speak one it's called Bisaya.
Let's get the origin story. So where did it all go? Because I know that you're one of the loves of my life was half Filipino. She was a Mexipino. In my opinion, if you drop Filipino in anything, it makes it better. It's like the umami of races. That shit is like. So I know that you're a mixed breed, if you will, if you use the terms of.
Well, we're all mixed breeds. What are you, pure?
Look at me. I got crooked teeth, red hair. You think you make this is inbreeding for thousands of years?
For sure, dude.
I'm bummed out. I want to be
I like being a mutt.
So yeah, where were you?
I was born in Cebu. I was born and raised there until I was 15, and then I came here, and that's my life. I identify with being Filipino more so than my father, who was Egyptian and French. But he lived in the Philippines with us. I don't know that side of my family.
Do you know what that comes from? That's very primal shit. You tend to identify with your mother's family. Do you know why that is?
Why?
And that happens because with me, when I talk about on stage, I talk about how I'm Armenian. I'm half Armenian, half Italian. I'm as equally as much Italian as I am Armenian, but for some reason, I identify with the Armenian side. And not that my Italian side didn't love me at all or anything. They showed me nothing but love the whole time. But you tend to have a closer bond with your mother's side because in the weirdest of ways, it is the one part of the family that you 100% know is your family. That, it's like with your dad, unless he does a DNA test, hopes it's his kid. And I know it sounds really crazy, but that's why the mother side of the family tends to take care of the kid more than the father side of the family because they 100% know that that's their kid.
Yeah.
I've had friends that had babies and they're like, oh man, I loved my husband. Once I had a child, I knew that I love this thing instantly way more.
Right,
I'll push him into a volcano.
That happens to a lot of women where if their man decided to break things off after the child, they're not as grief stricken.
Because they got something.
Because they're like, wait, you gave me a seed. Thank you, goodbye.
Yeah, right? So it's interesting. It makes sense that
You're right.
you connect more with the Filipino side.
Also, my dad was incredibly old. He was 36 years older than my mom.
How old was your mom?
My mom was 23 when she had me. My dad was already in his 60s.
Good for your dad.
And the weird part is that you would think that it was just some stereotypical foreigner goes to the Philippines, gets some young hussy, opportunistic hussy, but that's actually not how it worked at all. My dad, and you guys might find this interesting, he used to tell us tall tales about things that I had been shot in the spine or my Humvee rolled over. And we always thought these were like grandiose ways of maybe connecting with us. And when a couple days ago we looked through, I didn't even know he was a fucking Army veteran. We looked through his old paperwork, his papers, and it turned out he wasn't lying. He actually worked for an intelligence agency for years before it was the CIA. My dad was born in 1924, and he was a part of the CIC, which is like specially trained agents. Yeah, and that's how we ended up in the Philippines.
Wow, that's incredible.
And all this time I thought he was just full of shit.
That's...
I always said, he was some international man of mystery, but I never know what that meant. I just said that just to say it.
So when did you find out that it was all true?
Last week.
Really?
Yeah, because my sister and I were unearthing all of these old photos just to look at them. And
where's your sister live?
In Atwater.
Okay.
And yeah, we found out that he was in this thing called the CIC, and he was pretty high ranked. And I looked it up, I Wikipedia'd it, and I was like, oh my God.
Really?
This motherfucker really is James Bond.
That's so interesting. That sounds like a movie, right?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you got skills you didn't even know, and you could start killing people.
I had just flame shooting out of my hand.
That's great. Wow. I wish that I knew my dad. I love him to death. I love him, but he is. I'm thankful that I had such a flawed dad. He's very flawed, so I got to see what happens with those flaws. And when I saw those flaws in me, I was able to nip that shit at the bud. It's very interesting how you could either learn from your father or become your father very quickly.
Yeah, Jimi Hendrix has a song called Manic Depression, and it's about his mother. And so the whole lyrics is talking about how growing up with a manic depressed mother. And if you think about how his music...
Manic depression.
Yeah.
Enters your soul.
And as a kid,
Boom,
that was my mom.
boom,
My
boom.
mom has... my mom's manic depressed person, hardcore. My whole life, I remember like my mom crying, and my dad's bipolar. So when you see the Goblin, you're seeing like
that
the two coming together.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like, don't look away.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I try hard not to, but you know.
Are you a superstitious person?
So I'm very science-minded, but because I grew up in the Philippines, which is very strongly Catholic, it's inescapable to be superstitious. You have to have some part of you that believes in it, because I think you're so surrounded by it when you live in like a Catholic country like that.
Especially a country that's been conquered so many different times.
Yeah, we've been
and,
colonialized.
Like, everyone's house is on top of like a cemetery they didn't even know existed.
Dude, cemeteries are so dope. In the Philippines, on November 1st, my birthday, you know how the Mexicans have Dia de los Muertos?
Yeah.
In the Philippines, everyone goes to the cemetery and they get hammered for 3 days.
For 3 days?
Yeah, it's a massive party. In fact, it's a national holiday. There's no school for that whole week.
Damn.
And
So they take off from school to let everybody go hang out in graveyards?
oh yeah, and then we bring food, we bring a whole roasted pig, we bring alcohol, and people just party it up.
Wow.
So,
and what's that called? What's the holiday
It's
called?
All Saints Day, All Souls Day.
All Saints and
Yeah.
All Souls Day. And what does that? What is the reason for that? Is there like a famous event that happened?
It's just we sit with the dead. So we sit with our family members that passed, and we pour liquor all over their graves and get hammered.
Do you do that?
I was too young then to drink, but yeah, everyone was like fucking shooting guns just for fun around. And the cemetery is a very festive place in the Philippines. It's not as, over here we paint it as like some scary kind of very somber place maybe.
Not in LA. They show movies in our cemeteries.
That's true. That's
I
true.
took a girl on a picnic recently in a cemetery.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Should be a sad place, right?
But so I know that here's a few of the Filipino superstitions. Let me know if you know this one. Don't sleep with your hair wet.
Or you
Why?
wake up blind.
There you go.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Thank you. I was actually, I just wrote that somewhere. Like dumb things Filipinos believe, or I just thought it was my mom.
And I always do, so I'm always like waking up in the morning like, is both.
Or you
both-
can't. Another one, if someone's laying flat on the floor, which we do a lot in the Philippines because we sleep on a banig, which is like a woven
Sounds
mat.
like a racial slur. Banig?
Banig, yeah. So if you jump over the person, you can't do that. You can't walk over the person or else they'll stop growing. Is that when you have?
Yep.
Oh, hold on. So a baby's sitting there. I walk over
Yeah,
them.
your
and
baby
then-
will
and
stay a
then it's
baby
gonna be a
forever.
baby for the rest
Yeah.
of its
This is
life.
actually an Armenian superstition as well.
Really, if I step over a child, the child will stop growing?
Yeah, and it's like you have to step back in order to reverse it.
We all hear those things, though, but what's so interesting about superstitions? A lot of them stem from just mothers' fears. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, don't go swimming after you just ate.
Yeah.
I mean, that literally has nothing to do with anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a mom was afraid maybe you might be too full to swim or something like that. Like a very famous one. I remember my cousin saying, she was much older than me. She's like, don't wear your hat all the time. You're going to go bald.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, that literally has nothing to do with anything. But I remember growing up, and to this day, I take my hat off. And when I'm sitting in somewhere, because I don't want to go bald, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's a lot of these things where it's just like mother's just weird emotional reaction to shit. So
I always acquiesce anyways, just in case.
yeah.
Just in case it's true.
I
but-
remember being in like 3rd grade and there was a kid who didn't believe in God.
Mm-hmm.
And his name was Richard Wheeler. Mm-hmm. And he didn't believe in God. And just one day the kids were just racking him on it. and he was crying during lunch. He's just like, I just don't believe in God. I'm just like,
What a
hey,
cool
I'm
kid.
like, let the kid not believe. Who cares, right?
Little
When it-
Nietzsche over
Yeah,
there.
a little. And then this teacher came over, and she's like, it's okay, but maybe you should just believe in him just in case. And that is like the craziness that goes on, right? Like religion would never last if you tried to sell it to people in college. Like if you had a religious fair where people could go and pick up a religion. They didn't have religion and now they can go to college and they pick. No one, and maybe Buddhism would be the only thing. You have to indoctrinate people very early with this crazy talk. That's the only way it sticks. And that's basically how this whole thing gets passed on, is people pass on this weird kind of sickness to each generation as it goes.
An ex-girlfriend of mine got me on Sunset Boulevard. There's a sign that spins, and it's a sad foot and a happy foot, if you know what I'm talking about. It's over by Donut Farm. And she was like, oh, I'm going to have a good day. And I was like, why? She's like, it's a happy foot. So to this day, if I drive on Sunset, I have to look. I don't even look at it because I'm afraid if I see a sad foot, I'm going to probably like die. So
You know, I do the same thing, and I don't think it has to do with religion. It has to do with being an athlete for a really long time. So I just had rituals.
You were an athlete?
I was a swimmer.
Really?
Yeah, and I swam for the Philippine team, and I swam Division I in college.
Really?
I'm a has-been, though. Has-been.
It was a good run.
It was a good run.
Team Filipino. Did you go to any big international events?
Yeah, I went to Southeast Asian Games. I traveled a lot when I was younger swimming. My sister and I did. We swam for the Philippine team, so.
Wow. So, people don't realize the Asian Games is pretty big, right?
Huge.
It's huge. I remember I was in China, and they're like, yeah, the Asian Games are going. I'm like, well, what's that? And the woman was like, are you serious? I go, yeah. You don't know what Asian Games are? I was like,
sounds like reindeer games, dude. It sounds like.
It was so. What are a couple more?
Don't take a 3-person picture
Ooh, I didn't know that. Why?
because the person in the middle will die first.
Oh my God.
So Aaron, you're in the middle of all of our photos from now on.
Oh, no stuff, Cross. We love you.
All right, don't sleep with your feet facing the door or a window
Why?
because you're inviting bad spirits to take you
It's always
in.
bad spirits. Is it a Filipino thing? Always bad spirits. Like if you're pregnant, you can't sleep by a window. Someone will
Really?
snatch your fetus or like freaking, turn it into a devil baby.
It's
Yeah, but we have some really weird ones, like our not mythical creatures or things that they tell children to fear are very different. Like we have a pari waio, which is a priest without a head. And you're supposed to fear that. We have a baboy bakya, and it's basically, I think it's our version of the chupacabra, but it's basically a pig with boots. And it's supposed to somehow like incite fear in young children. But the most famous one is called an aswang. And it's basically like a bird creature, which is like a half human.
half a human, half bird?
Yeah.
And what does it do? Eat children and stuff?
It eats everybody.
It eats
it has a
everybody.
long tongue and it kind of just.
Well, you never know because like island culture, it's biologically diverse, and they've even found like a miniature pachyderm in the Philippines, like a tiny little like teacup little elephant, dude. So when we were talking about this one, do you have?
Don't
any?
put your purse on the floor. That was
Yeah.
another one.
Don't put your purse on the floor.
Have you
But
ever-
I think that's like all cultures.
Is that just a woman thing?
Yeah.
You're gonna
Really?
leave-
You're not supposed to put your purse on the floor?
No, it's like something about you lose money, right? Yeah.
Really? I don't have purses, so I don't know.
So do you have any personal weird experiences in the Philippines?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Dude, okay. Like I said, I'm very science minded, but there's something that I notice. We're very overstimulated with it's too much stimuli in a big city like LA. But when I go back to the Philippines or go to the province and things are quiet, you feel things you wouldn't normally feel in a city. You hear things you wouldn't normally hear. I don't know if it's my mind getting to me, but randomly, like the hairs on the back of my neck will stand, or you just feel a different presence, as you. But my mom has, to this day, swears by this story that has basically scarred me my whole life, and it has something to do. She calls it Spirit of the Glass, which is our version of the Ouija board.
Really?
So instead of like real letters, we put down like a blanket or whatever, and it's the same exact. It works the same exact as a Ouija board. But in the Philippines, her parents had a lodging house where they would take in college students, and those college students would pay to live there. essentially. And one night they decided to play Spirit of the Glass, and they did their prayer, flipped over the glass, trapped the spirit, and then asked questions. And my mom wasn't a believer in any of this.
So tell us real quick before we get into what happened to them.
Yeah.
What do you do? How does the board work?
I think it just
You put down a blanket.
I think the glass moves. You do a prayer. You welcome a spirit into the glass, and then you trap the glass.
So you're like, hey, get into my glass.
Yeah, like an insect, and then flip it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the ghost insect is in there.
So why would the spirit get in the glass if it knows it's going to be trapped?
Well, only to answer questions. Maybe it wants, wants to get through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go, hey, get into my glass. Boom. You set it down. It's right there. And what is on the blanket? Anything? Like, is it like a Ouija board that has letters on it? Or is
yeah.
it, okay.
I don't know if someone writes on
okay,
blanket versus paper,
it's
which
fine.
is not very
it's
efficient.
Fine. Right. It's totally fine.
You verifying this isn't shadow play? Is that what's going on?
So we have it on there. The spirit is in the glass. And what do you do next?
Then I guess you ask questions, and a bunch of lodgers in my grandparents' house were playing this game, and they how do you say, when you conjure a spirit, they conjured a spirit, started asking questions, and the first was, how old are you? She's like, I'm 17. Where do you live? And it said Tres de Abril, which is the street that my mom and her grandparents' house was at. Basically right there. And they were like, oh, this person lives here. And they're like, what's your name? And then she goes, her name's Rita. And my mom says, 2 minutes later, a neighbor comes screaming through the door. Somebody help me. Rita had just hung herself.
Shut up.
My mom says she was scarred for the rest of her life, and the lodgers who were playing that game, one of the guys had a massive fever that night and never spoke again.
Whoa! So that is your mom was one of the college kids?
No, my mom was living there. They just had college kids playing this. She was a little bit younger. She was still in her early teens.
Oh my God!
So have you ever played with the Ouija board or?
No, I don't do that. It's weird that I know in my reasonable mind.
She told you this as a kid.
Yeah, and she repeats it as an adult.
Don't moms play that. Love to do that. My mom loves to set me up she loves to bear bad news. She loves to tell me who died. That's my mom's thing. She'll call me up. She goes, oh, you know that Mr. Johnson, your PE teacher really loved you? Oh, yeah, he's great. He's dead. He died.
Is that where you got it from? Because Sam sometimes will be like, hey, buddy, I got to tell you something. We need to talk. And it's like, only girlfriends that are about to break up with me have ever, and then it'll be something nice. So we're going to have a good guest tomorrow. I'm like, God damn, dude.
Yeah. My mom loves to bear the bad news.
My mom, too.
They're like the bad news.
My mom loved telling us stories about planes crashing when we were younger.
What?
Yeah, it was her favorite thing. Air pockets, you know that show How Planes Crash? I swear to that was my mom's brain. That's a brainchild of my mother.
She must love that show. Do you ever record it and send it to her?
It's on the Weather Channel, right?
Who does a show called When Planes Crash?
It's Why Planes Crash.
Oh, that's so
on
good.
The Weather Channel, dude.
That's so good. The Weather Channel's got to do something. It's got to do something, right? Because you just got to go outside to see the weather. You don't really need the Weather Channel. Am I anybody else?
The Farmer's Almanac was over 200 years ago, and it would tell you about what the weather was last year.
Yeah.
And that thing kept on, it still gets bought to this day, you know? I know Aaron has a copy of Farmer's
Aaron,
Almanac.
do you have a Farmer's Almanac?
No, it's all an app. No, it's all app based now.
Oh, it's an app? The Farmer's Almanac is an app now? Can I get that? That's awesome. So what other weird, crazy stories do you have? So this person, that's a crazy story about that.
So close to Filipino. I grew up with Filipinos and Cholos in Chino Hills. And so DJ Buddy, the world famous DJ Buddy, he's been my longtime friend, and he loves Tigerbelly, obviously. I turned him on to it, and he was like, dude, ask her about the island of the witches. Or
Sikihor?
Yes.
Yeah, Sikihor Island.
Dude, there's a place called the Island of the Witches.
It's called Fire, well, not the Fire Island that they have in the
Oh,
East
Miami?
Coast. Was it like New York or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where all the gays go.
That's where I'm.
Where do all the
Or-
gays?
I think it's called like
We're
Fire
gigging there.
Island,
We're
right?
gigging there next
Hold the
week.
gays go to Fire Island?
I think so, right?
Why do they go to Fire
It's a
Island?
super elite area of, like, I believe, of Manhattan, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
In the United States?
It's like Coronado Island.
Where is it?
In San Diego. You don't know all the gay hotspots? Dude, Sam,
No.
we got to get, we got to tour it.
My grinder hasn't fucking updated me on all the.
How are we going to do Studs Theater on Santa Monica Boulevard if you don't know the hotspots?
I do want to shoot a special there.
Dude, you should.
I totally do, dude.
So give us it all. I mean, 'cause, yeah, Ian's like, dude, the Philippines is so creepy. And he's always trying to get me to go there to marry me off. And I'm like, hell no. You're trying to harvest my organs or give me over to a demon.
It's just ingrained in us to always offer our friends to family. That's what we do. I was actually going to ask you right after. I was like, hey, would you be interested? Mid-30s, cousin of mine. Just what we do. But Siquijor Island is, it's known for, it's just voodoo. I think that they believe in a woman like that's supposed to be like the original black magic woman or something like that.
Jesus.
It's black magic.
And is there any legends of there coming out of there? Like a 3-headed goat ate a baby or something?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But mostly it's people it's like barang. Barang is when you put a curse on somebody and you either get them sick or get them poisoned or something to that effect.
So you grew up Catholic?
Yes.
Okay,
But
so-
very, you just follow your parents, but in the back of my mind, I always knew that when I had any type of freedom, I would bolt.
My problem growing up is like you're a raging, like, you know, your hormones are going Sunday morning and then there's girls your same age and they're wearing like nice dresses and you're seeing legs and you're like, I'm not focused on the light right now. I'm looking at the legs, dude.
I just never went. My dad
Never. You never got
went. My mom brought me to church twice. That was it. My dad didn't like religion at all, hated it right out the gate. So it never was a big thing for me.
Now,
Weird.
do you guys believe in, when people get the spirit in them in churches, when you go to like a born again Christian church and when people get like possessed by the spirit?
It's happened to me.
Really?
What?
One time about
You were possessed.
when I was early on in sobriety, I would be doing Lyft for only like 36 hours a day or 36 hours straight, right? And then one morning I'm dressed all nice and I'm over down on Crenshaw. And there's that big Los Angeles, like it's an all black church. It's the West LA church. And I see all these like fine looking black people. I'm like, damn, I'm dressed nice. I go in there and it's just like the Blues Brothers. I was the only white guy in there. And as it's Pentecostal, as the preacher's talking, the bishop, it was literally like coming into me.
Pentecostal's hardcore.
Dude, and it was happening to me to where I just started dancing and I was crying and I was like, dude, what the fuck? And he was loving it and he brought me up. And there was like 1,000 black people in Crenshaw just loving this moment. And I was just like having my time. And he's like, brother, you can come back anytime. Dude, I shit you not. And like I went back a couple more times, man.
Now, do you think that you might just be more susceptible to the spirit, like susceptible to the idea, or you just threw yourself in there? Because when we first came to America, my dad was deeply, he was part of this Mennonite Nigerian church. Whoa. In fact, when we arrived in LAX, we were greeted by all the Nigerian church members.
Oh, so where, at LAX? Mm-hmm. So you came out and all these Nigerians were like, what up?
Yeah, it was like, what the hell's going on?
How old were you when this happened?
15.
Wow.
That's a good way to come to the U.S.
And they helped my dad because my dad felt, he went financially, everything went awry for him.
I think every person has that story. My dad, same thing, killing it, and then just crash and burn.
My dad was exactly the same. I mean, he came from money. His parents were really wealthy, and then he kind of took off on his own, did his own thing, and then just crashed and burned. But when we came to the States, this Nigerian church, they helped they fundraise, they helped basically buy our tickets to the United States. So my dad knew that my mom was very deeply Catholic, but he told us, like, just be cool, just go to church, just pretend, shadow play, basically. And my sister and I, they would do this testimonials where you would get up there and you would have to talk about how God has improved your life that week or whatever. And then they would do the speaking in tongues and then people would collapse.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And so my dad, gave us a side eye, like, fucking go up there and perform. And I knew that I didn't have it in me. I was like, there's no fucking way I can be serious and, like, go into a seizure. So I nudged my sister. I was like, fucking take one for the team, bro.
And who's older, you or your sister?
She's a year older than me.
So
and she's so shy and introverted, too. But I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't keep a straight face. So my sister went up there, eyes rolled into the back of her head, crying, just shaking, taking the spirit in. I mean, she did a whole performance, and I was so proud of her. And I was like, you are a champion.
But did you ever have to go up and do it?
No, she did one. She did one for us on behalf of the whole family. She flung her body backwards.
Now,
she did like a Ric Flair dead man's drop. She was just like catatonic and then it was amazing.
How long did you guys go to this church?
4 months. We couldn't just break away after we came to America. We had to thank them in some way.
Oh, so they basically paid for your ticket there, and then you have to agree to attend their church?
No, they just became friends with my dad. My dad became like the church counselor. He was the only non-black guy there, like the church that you went to. And yeah, he just, he was an elder now in their church, and we just had to, attend every Sunday.
That is so crazy.
They were great people, though. They were really nice. I just wasn't into the whole...
No, I'm with you. And it's so interesting because you always see these, like, baby pastors. Have you ever seen where they show videos of where, like, babies are being pastors? And you just tell that they're just mimicking that's what children do. They just mimic what they see. So they just see, like, hey, ho, yeah, Jesus! And everyone's like, the force is strong with it.
It's like Jim Florentine's son. Have you seen him? He's like the youngest stand-up out there right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's like 10 years old.
If he sticks with it, that guy's going to be the best ever did. So do you have any other stories of possession? What do we got here?
A local LA or Philippines?
We just want to hear anything.
My brother-in-law seems to believe that he saw a real-life possession in the streets of LA.
Really?
This guy just... He could have also just been on bath salts.
Yeah,
but
that happens.
That Flocka, you know?
That should be a game. Possessed or Flocka?
So this guy was fully naked, sweating, jerking himself off, but also fingering his asshole at the same time, making demonic noises, and then running around in circles.
Was he the guy on the bus? Because I remember like a year ago, there was a guy that was doing that on a bus. On the top of a bus, he was jacking off and fingering his butt.
Maybe it's the same guy. Maybe that's just his thing.
I love LA, dude.
But there are plenty of demons in LA.
You're saying this guy has a haunted asshole? Demon dicks and haunted holes. That's what this episode should be called.
You know it.
That's incredible. How long did your brother? Did you say
My
your brother?
brother-in-law, yeah.
So there's your brother-in-law. How long did your brother-in-law watch this demonic possession?
I mean, he had to calm this guy. He's a cop, you know?
Oh, he is.
Yeah, so he got called to the scene, and here's this guy just finger blasting the shit out of his asshole.
Out of his dirt chute.
And then, but also jerking off at the same time, but then doing circles. You know, and then making weird demonic sounds.
Oh my God.
You know, and I take back everything I said about the LAPD. They deserve all the money they get,
dude,
man.
that is the thing between the whole, cops, black people. It's like you have this weird kind of history of, institutional racism versus the hardest job possible. Yeah. Like, it's like any day you're like, I could walk into something where I could die. There's not a lot of jobs that could do that. So you have these things that are just constantly, because, there was institutional racism for a very long time. They basically set it up so that this black community could not succeed. People will get very angry that when I say it, but it's the truth, man. It's like whether it's Jim Crow laws and so on and so forth, the crime bill of 1994, those were all set up to make it so you would basically handicap the black community. And on top of that, I mean, when you see pictures of dogs, attacking black people and then fucking hosing, that's like, people want to act like that's the 1800s, and it's like only like 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like you got this weird, so both sides have a legit argument. It is hard to be a cop. Mm-hmm. It is real fucking hard, man.
I've been looking into us doing a ride-along in the Rampart division.
I love how you just make shit up as we go. Like,
I've been looking into this ever since we studied.
Why specifically Rampart?
Because they were involved with Tupac's murder.
Oh, you're talking about Rampart, like Temple Rampart?
Yeah. That was a really corrupt police.
MS-13?
Yeah. That crazy ass shit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That little area, when you said Atwater, so
they have the what do you call them? The tiny tuners over there, right? Mm-hmm. Tunerville.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
What's tuners?
Tunerville is the gang that's in Atwater.
There's a gang called Tiny Tuners?
Tunervilles. I don't know if they're called Tiny Tuners. Tiny Rascals, I think that's Long Beach. Sorry, I'm getting them confused.
That's the thing about LA nowadays, and just in general. It doesn't seem like there's still gang violence and gangs out there, but they are out there. And it's just under there's a street called Hoover. It's below the 10. Mm-hmm. They wear orange. If you're at night and you see a bunch of people wearing orange, just blow the stoplights.
Yeah, just talk to the cops.
Oh, shit.
And I was a Lyft driver. I would just be doing pickup USC because I was always trying to pick up on black chicks, and they'd be like, "You crazy?" and never give me the time of day. So I was totally doing serial killer shit, which is just to circle around at midnight around USC picking up college girls. I never killed anyone yet.
Yeah.
But so I straight up blew a light, and a cop pulled me over, and I was like, "Dude, I saw a bunch of guys in orange," and he's like, "All right, just this one time."
Yeah.
So
you usually talk to him. Wow. So
usually I don't. I used to live. I prefer the hood over Hollywood.
Yeah.
I would much rather live in where I used to live in Long Beach, where it's like a couple blocks over. They always say, "Couple blocks over, don't walk over there." It's never like that, dude. The hood is amazing. No one fucks with you. No one cares, if you're blowing up fireworks on the 4th of July. Just no one complains. Where Bobby and I live is annoying as shit. If you go on the Nextdoor app, suspicious black man standing outside. It's always it's just the most unimportant shit.
Why are you on that app?
Because one time I found a dog. And I needed to post on it. I was like, hey, I found someone's fucking dog. Can you collect your dog, And I haven't deleted it since. But the meth heads of Hollywood scare the shit out of me.
Really? Are they bad?
Over the living where my sister lives in Atwater, with the Tunervilles, they never fuck with you. If you're not gang affiliated, they don't mess with you at all. Meth heads, they'll mess with you all goddamn day.
All the time, dude. And you could tell when they got the sweats and the demon in their eyes. I saw this guy driving what are those small British cars? The really small ones.
Oh yeah, the Fiats.
Fiats, right? He's driving a Fiat, right? And it's super small, and it is smoking. The engine's smoking. And I run up to him, I'm like, dude, you got to turn your car off. And I look in, and dude, this dude was on a meth run like I've never seen. He's just like, I'm like, dude, turn off the car. Your engine's about to blow. And he's trying to grind the gears. I'm like, oh, dude, you are gone, bro. I hope you can't feel it when this car explodes, dude. It needs oil. You need to stop. And they got, and they just got no teeth, and they all they want to do is suck your dick. It's fucking weird.
What do you guys believe? Do you think demonic possessions are real?
Oh, for sure, dude. I believe in all that shit. Ghosts, everything. I think it's just a much more interesting world to believe in all that shit.
There's a psychiatrist. He's Ivy League. He's an Ivy League psychiatrist from Columbia, and he recently switched over, and he now fully believes in demonic possessions. In fact, he is the guy that the church goes to he advises the church as to whether or not it's a psychiatric issue or if it's a demonic possession.
Really?
And the reason that he believes, is a guy named Richard Gallagher. And the reason he believes it is because he cannot, even though if you were to if you were to take into consideration someone on meth or someone maybe with like an encephalitis, say for instance.
Encephalitis, what is
like
that?
Inflammation of the brain from like an autoimmune disorder, say for instance, and it starts eating at your brain. You do exhibit similar signs of a possession, right? You lose your executive functions, you start to like contort your body, have like bizarre body movement and whatnot. But he said, how do you explain someone speaking perfect Latin?
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Or shit flying off the shelves. And I'm like, I mean...
Have you ever seen anything fly off the shelves?
No, not like that, no.
The weirdest thing I ever saw as a kid, and this isn't demonic, it's just weird voodoo, magic, whatever. I used to have this hat, right? And I could put something, I'd take this globe, put the hat over it, do like this, and the thing would be disappeared. It happened all the time as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That sounds like something out of a Stephen King novel.
I'm not even lying to you. We take the hat, put it over it, do like, boom, lift the hat, and the thing was gone.
Well, you know, Armenian, like, you guys are pagans, right?
Yeah. Well, no, we were the first of the Christians.
Yeah, but you guys were pagans before you were Christians for
Okay.
a long time.
Okay.
So you probably got some still leftover little witchcraft in you there.
We probably do have some witchcraft.
I see you work magic on. It's so funny when you come alive on stage. If you think about what comedians do, you guys are performing magic. You're using words amplified in a God voice.
Yeah.
And everyone has to step
It's
inside.
mind games for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. You mastermind.
I walked through
Mind
the
games.
main room. It's a 400-seat room. You've been in there. And Sam, I was way in the back, and I watched him walk. I was like, how were you able to see me? And he goes, everything's in slow motion on stage.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude, what's it like?
I knew a guy that he could do his act and count all the people that were. He could tell you how many people were in the room.
That's just called a Jewish person, and his name's Ari Shafir.
No,
Yes.
no, it's Carl LeBeau. He could do his
I
act.
love Carl LeBeau.
And he could count every single person in the crowd.
He was Sam Kinnison's best friend,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, from way
Yeah.
back in the day.
He is so funny. I love that guy, and he's so sweet.
What other? Do you have any other examples of demonic? I love these stories.
I got some real
I'm
ones
fine
if you
with
want.
things going in butts too. I don't mind any of those stories.
So the actual word exorcism comes from the Greek word meaning oath. So the whole idea is that to exercise, you're using a higher power to command out. So that's why you say, in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, I
Right.
command you out. So the church went on record back in 1614 for official guidelines on exorcism, so the Vatican, and they revised them in 1999. According to the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, signs of demonic possession include superhuman strength, aversion to holy water, and the ability to speak unknown languages.
I think that's the kicker, is the unknown languages, because you know how they've always said that something like, it's called like anti-NMDA encephalitis, which is a very specific type of autoimmune disorder that's caused by like a teratoma. There's like a tumor made out of teeth, bones, and basically body parts.
What?
Have you never seen a teratoma?
No.
It's like a little baby twin living inside you.
I love it when Khalyla goes medical. This is awesome.
I didn't know that.
So
I've heard of that.
It's basically
yes.
like a mini possession. You're being possessed by a little person
that
inside of you.
that died, right, or didn't make it.
Yeah, or it's just a germ cell that differentiated into teeth and muscles and bones and body parts.
That's insane.
But a lot, what the teratoma does is it causes this autoimmune response that attacks the brain. And so it's called anti-NMDA encephalitis, and that's what they've always said. That's how the medical world explains demonic possessions. Because all of the symptoms are the same, except for the speaking in perfect Latin. Like the girl.
Is it always Latin?
I don't know.
Sometimes it's dead languages. Like people will hear like bits and pieces of Aramaic.
Aramaic?
How do you say it? Aaron, say the word. You know what I'm talking about.
Aramaic.
There we go. It's the language of Christ. So it's like a dead language.
Why is it dead?
Because it's like
Nobody kept
an
talking
old-
about?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
There's also so much crossing over with mental illness. And if you see somebody who's in like a full-blown psychosis, or say for instance who's like a paranoid schizophrenic, they're very prone to like religious talk or just being really like biblical and repeating biblical phrases over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So you could argue that someone in a full-blown psychosis would be able to mimic something that, like, how am I as a non-Latin speaker supposed to know that that person is speaking perfect Latin? Do you know what I mean? Or Jesus talk, or Jesus dead language. Like, I don't fucking know what that sounds like.
Well,
I'm
there's probably people who come in and they're like...
record it.
They're recorded, but they're also experts, and they're like, yeah, that's Latin.
Well, there's this idea, there's a universal language that we all know. So the idea of atom, Amen Ra, like Amen. So these are all like the idea of it all stems.
Well, it's all from the same. It's all the same. It all leads back to the same.
So much the same way, like you say like mama is like one of the first words like a child will say almost in all languages, because it's like the natural way a mouth moves. So I think like they're picking up on. What's crazy though is I was like, man, is there any actual examples of demon possession in the Bible? And Jesus is anywhere from 6 to 11 times casted out like demons from people. The most notorious one is Luke 8, chapters 26 to 39, and it's about the possessed swine. And basically the story goes, Jesus and his disciples were traveling when they came across a man who had been living among the tombs, which was like he was living inside, I guess, caves.
Well, he's probably Filipino, and it was a fucking 3-day drink ban. Pee on the dead.
And because of his demonic possession, approached Jesus, fell before him, calling out, Jesus, Son of Most High God, what have you done to us? The demons begged him.
With us. What have you done with us?
Do not torment us. So Jesus asked, what's your name? Which is a weird thing for Jesus to ask. I'm pretty sure you knew it. They answered, Legion is my name. There are many of us. Jesus then removed the demons from the man and sent them into a nearby herd of swine, and the pigs ran down a steep bank and into the sea and drowned. So apparently pig's life.
We fuck pigs over so bad.
I know.
They're so smart, and we treat them like shit.
We had a pig growing up named Jigga.
Chicka.
My mom's. I do have another story.
Yeah.
My dad, again, Mr. International Man of Mystery, we owned a shipping company in the Philippines. This is when he was still like doing well before the crash and burn.
Yeah. Shipping company, that's total CIA. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. And one of his cargo ships, which transported beer and furniture all over the Philippines, I don't know how he acquired it, but he acquired a steering wheel, or the wheel of, what do you call it? Steering wheel of the boat, right?
Yeah, big one.
From a ship, a Malaysian ship that had previously sank. And when my dad put it on the boat, and he dry docked the boat just for like regular repairs or whatever, and then they took out the boat, my dad was lost at sea for 72 hours.
What?
And I remember crying. I remember being so afraid. I remember thinking, oh, like, that's it, my dad's dead or whatever. So this like weird, they were like in the middle of like an eye of a storm or something like that. They were caught in a typhoon, and the boat capsized, lost everything. And my dad dry docked the boat again to repair the boat, and with the same fucking steering wheel. And then weird things during that dry dock started happening. Like one of his crew, like a young dude randomly like died or whatever. And then they took the boat out again, and it sank again. And that's when somebody in like that local area was like, hey, let's just bring someone in here, like a priest or whatever, to see, what's going on. Maybe there's some weird thing. My dad is like he's like, no way, that doesn't make sense. I'm an international man of mystery.
Yeah.
We don't do ghosts.
James Bond doesn't do.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
But he finally like acquiesced just to like make the crew, feel safe.
Fine.
Yeah, like fuck it, fine. Bring the guy over.
We'll do it live.
Yeah, and it turned out that the man said that to remove the wheel, and that there were a lot of people living on the boat that had passed, and that they were not going to allow the boat to float. And weird things started happening. My dad said this guy performed an exorcism, like he fucking did the blessing of the boat or whatever. And I swear to you, I don't know the full story. I know it sounds really like kind of fragmented, but when he came home, my dad had a full beard, and he was a man of God after that.
Your dad came home in a day and had a full beard?
No, he was out.
Yeah. Oh.
He didn't just grow a beard in a day.
I was going to be like, dude, what is this? Chia?
So he didn't speak to us for 3 months. He slept on the couch for 3 months. He was just growing this beard. He looked really depressed. And after that, he told us his story. He's like, I believe that priest was right. There was something there that was holding us down. He never set sail on that boat again, ever. We just let that boat die.
What do you think ghosts and demons are? What do you think those are?
I don't know. I don't know what I believe in. I just know that I have a healthy amount of fear in them. Enough where I'm like, hey, if in case you're around, don't fuck with me. I'm not mocking you.
Let's say you
Don't
and Bobby
enter my
put out
body.
some kids, right? Are you going to transfer onto them these Filipino, these weird kind of beliefs that Filipinos...
They're not just Filipino, Sam.
But some of them are Filipino. Some are very much Filipino.
Yeah, the baboy bakya with the pig and boots. The pig and boots I'll pass over to my kids.
Don't take a picture with 3 people. That's very Filipino. Everybody on Instagram is dead, by the way. Everybody's dead on Instagram. Are you going to pass these on?
No. I was a really frightened child. Look at me. I'm an anxious person, and I think a lot of that is because my mom has passed on all of her fears onto me. And I didn't think that it would affect me because I'm a very reasonable person, but it does. It's somewhere in the back of my mind that I can't explain. I have these fears that I cannot get rid of.
Do you watch the news a lot? Are you a big news? Women love the news. And do you love the news?
I did up until about a year ago when I realized it was very detrimental to my mental health.
That's amazing. That's such a great... I think if... A lot of times we get really sad that we can't control certain things in our lives. And so the one thing you can control are things you do. Mm-hmm. For me, it's like how I see people like, John McCain and George Bush and Barbara Bush, and as all these people pass on, or the news tries to rewrite their history with us, we try to make George Bush look like a good person because he gave candy to fucking Michelle Obama.
Wasn't that cute though? Didn't party you go, oh?
No, I didn't.
It's on like he's like an old senile man.
And he's a war criminal of the most epic proportions. That's a different story.
You could tell he's still racist because he was like trying his hardest not to really touch her. He's like, here you go, Blackie.
Here you go, Blackie. I want to become vegetarian. That's my next thing. And, not watching the news. That is a really... I want change in the world, stop watching the news. Mm-hmm. Stop watching the news. Today I was watching they had the Supreme Court nomination guy interviewing him. And like for my girlfriend, her news is her porn. Like, I don't know if you've ever come home and your boyfriend's like trying to turn off the computer because he's watching porn when you weren't there. He's like, nothing here. Nothing here. That's my girlfriend. She grabs the remote. She's trying to change the channel as I'm coming in. Are you watching that again? I thought you loved us. But the point is that, so when I woke up, the news was on, and they were, it was so interesting to watch MSNBC showing this interview. And or this hearing, and the senator who's about to ask the question, he's like, so now I have to do this, and it was coming. I have to ask you about your testimony in December 6th of 2006, where you said, and right there, MSNBC did a voiceover of like one of the commentators talking over it, so you couldn't hear the question being asked. That shit is all done on purpose, man. This whole thing with fucking the Nike Kaepernick shit, all done on purpose, man. This is all to get people to fight with each other. Did you see where the Parkland parent, they had the school shooting. The Parkland parent went up.
I saw that one.
And
he turned his back. Yeah, I saw that one.
Do you not think that's the most staged shit? How does that guy get to that moment? How does security let that guy suddenly walk in this grandstand where you have all these senators and this guy who could be a Supreme Court justice, and this guy randomly can just walk in and try to shake his hand? If you don't think that's all engineered And the guy's like, I don't know who the fuck you are, and walks off. Oh my God, he disrespected the Parkland pair. It's all meant to get you not to pay attention. And then you had the girl sitting behind him with like doing this. Did you see that?
Oh, that's so dumb.
And everyone's like, oh, she's saying the fuck. Like,
the white power thing?
Yeah, if she's doing that, she's doing that
lady.
on purpose.
The lady is Mexican and Jewish.
Yeah, it's so stupid, dude. And
the fact that her husband had to come to her defense,
it's
just so horrible. I
and
felt
it's
really
all
bad
getting
for that.
everybody to fight with each other.
Yeah, I don't fight people on that.
And that brings
I always
us
tell Bobby, because he's a fucking tragedy porn guy, and he's also really, he gets really like heated over politics.
Please tell Bobby I love him. Sometimes I think he thinks.
Before we get out of there, because you have recently taught me something. I mean, besides you having a real big heart on the show, which you are Tiger, Bobby's belly, and without you, there is no Tigerbelly. I love that you just are open about everything, and I'm kind of the same way. You said something, you're in passing, you said, you're such a gaslighter. And I was like, what the fuck's that? And I paused the podcast, looked it up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm a gaslighter. and then I was like, hey, Sam, you might be a gaslighter. He looked it up, he's like, and like he didn't say yes or no.
I'm the king of that, and I hate that I do it.
Do you do it to your woman? To your girlfriend?
Let me break it down so we can explain, and then I'll go through it. Here it goes. Gaslighting is a tactic in which a person or entity, Sam, in order to gain more power, makes a victim question their reality. It works much better than you think. Anyone is susceptible to gaslighting. It is a common technique of abusers, dictators, narcissists, and cult leaders. It's done slowly so the victim doesn't realize how much they've been brainwashed. People who gaslight typically use the following techniques. 1, they tell blatant lies. 2, they deny ever said something even though they have proof, like a podcast. 3, they use what is near and dear to them as ammunition. And that's me. I have a razor laser tongue that will cut to the bone marrow of truth with people. I recently did it to like someone that I'm kind of getting close with, and I apologize, but Sam's seen it, man. I can get right through when I want to. I don't pussyfoot around. So
you guys are so quick-tongued too. Like for me, I'm a very delayed insulter. When I want to insult, I can't like roast someone on the spot. Like 3 days later, I come up with something. I'm like, I gotta text this person now, and it's just the moment has passed, But you guys are so good at just making someone feel, terrible when they deserve it right then and there, which is a gift. I don't think that's gaslighting.
I thought gaslighting was where you basically sow seeds of doubt into people.
They wear you down over time.
Yeah, over time, in very subtle ways even.
I thought it's like sometimes when somebody pisses me off, I'll try to poison their well. And I catch that, oh, fuck this guy and his fuck. Everyone's like, really? Yeah, he does that. And I'm like, oh, why'd I do that, dude?
Their actions don't match their words. They throw in positive reinforcement to confuse you.
I guess.
They know confusion weakens people.
Gaslighting is very insidious. You don't know that it's happening to you until you're fully broken. Yeah. And you're like, how did I get here? How did I doubt? How did I not trust my gut? How did I believe this entire story that this person's painted?
Yeah.
And how am I left in the dust? That's usually what victims of gaslighting, it happens to people who are in emotionally abusive relationships have been gaslighted. My sister was in a relationship for 6 years. And people outside saw what he was doing, but she is so smart and so sane, and this woman fell into his trap. He would just say the right things at the right time just to get her back in the right place.
Right.
And then tear her down systematically in different ways. And he just altered her reality. We were attached at the hip, my sister and I, but there was a rift between us while they were together, and which I thought was an impossible thing to do. But this person was a professional gaslighter.
So if you had to say in one sentence what a gaslighter is, because I have to make sure I'm in. What is how would you describe it in one sentence?
If you have the capability to alter my reality. For instance, this is a small, silly example. It's in the past now. But when Bobby and I first started dating, this is how he would gaslight me. Hey, I remember he gave me his old phone one time. He was like, use this, because I had left my phone somewhere. Use this. So I look at old text messages that weren't that old, because he had just switched over phones, and he was texting things to women like, I would fuck you raw dog, and things that were really inappropriate. And I didn't trip out. I didn't flip out.
Why wouldn't he erase those before he gave it to you? Is that part of the
But that's
mental
part
game?
of it. That's part of it. If I knew that it was gonna bother you, why would I just leave it there? Because you fucking forgot. Because you didn't think I was gonna
you
fucking
think he's
read.
got Poon on call if he needed
No, he
it.
wanted me to think that that it wasn't a big deal. Like, oh yeah, that was just friendly banter. If I really thought that you would be upset about that, why would I just leave that there? Why wouldn't I cover up my tracks? That's part of gaslighting. But even after I showed him the proof, I was like, hey, can you not do this anymore? I didn't do that. I didn't text that. That's not my phone. I mean, that's not my fucking phone. Like he says it with
like
so
an
much.
Eddie Murphy, an old Eddie Murphy bit where you just
And finally, when I'm like, "This is your phone. This is your phone. Let's don't fuck." And he's like, "Yeah, but I mean, if." And then he starts to. But that's what it is. Like, and then I'm believing maybe this isn't his phone.
Oh my God.
Am I losing my mind? You're right. Like, why would you just leave this open for me to read if it was anything malicious or if you were really trying to cheat on me? But little things like that.
Manipulation is a motherfucker. We do it.
I think we all do it to some degree.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We just don't want to deal with the ramifications of our actions, so we just try to manipulate the other person into acting like it's their fault. And that's how it goes. And with that, we go to everyone's favorite part of the show. He's been listening quietly. Let's see if he can knock it out of the park.
Don't be an idiot.
Hey, Ron. Well, you better be sick, dead, or mute. Hey, Ron. You done messed up, Ron.
You filthy animal.
Aaron, thoughts?
I have a question for Khalyla.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When you go through an intersection during a yellow light, do you tap the ceiling of your car?
I don't.
That is a Filipino thing.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I think it is. It is, but I also.
What does that say?
It's like, don't let me crash.
Yeah, and also.
Don't let me get T-boned.
Yeah, it's kind of just a bless up. Don't fuck me over, God. I'm about to cross. And also, it's a weird thing because no one in the Philippines goes over 30 miles an hour. We have congested streets and no freeways.
There's
except
too
in,
many
Manila.
people.
Yeah, I think there are all of 2 vehicular crashes a year in my island, and everyone drives like a maniac.
And there's only 2?
Yeah, the streets are small and you're not really going at speeds. The only a lot of motorcycle accidents, yes, but not real.
It's my theory that Asians are actually such advanced drivers that white people fuck them up, and that's why they crash.
Yeah, because now we have to adhere to rules, road rules. Why can't I just fucking park on any curb I want, which you can do in the Philippines? you know?
Well, it sounds like a wonderful place. I need to go visit. Khalyla, you were great. You're welcome back anytime. I know you hate leaving your house, but when you muster up the courage again, please come back. We'll talk some more ghost stuff and everything like that. And we appreciate you coming on. And if you guys haven't listened to Tigerbelly, you should check it out. It's one of my favorite podcasts out there. So we appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys soon.
For the children, we teach the children. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?